work hard, but at the same time, if you're not having fun, why are you out there?
What do you do when life after pro sports and even a high-powered career at PepsiCo leaves you successful but not fully fulfilled? Paul Cohen knows that pain. As a record-breaking AHL goalie turned corporate leader, he chased performance until he realized what he was missing: purpose. His vision? To change the game literally by bringing joy, confidence, and connection to young athletes and their families. Through Twig and Biscuit, Ultimate Hockey fans, and coaching camps across continents, Paul is redefining what it means to lead, inspire, and live with meaning. If you're seeking reinvention, legacy, and leadership beyond the boardroom, this is the conversation you didn't know you needed. I'm Larry Sprung, your host for the Midland Money Mindset and founder and wealth advisor of Midland Financial. Let's dive into today's show. Well, I am super excited today to have Paul Cohen with us, and welcome to the show, Paul.
Thanks, Larry. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, so listen, we're going to talk a lot about what you are up to today. But before we jump in and dive into that full tilt, can you share a little bit about your background and who you are and what brought you to the point of where you are today?
Well, that's a long question, but I'll streamline it for you for sure. I grew up in Southern Ontario, primarily in the Windsor, Ontario area. Initially, when I heard the theme from Hockey Night in Canada and heard Foster Hewitt say, "He shoots, he scores," I knew exactly what I wanted to be when I grew up. And, I followed that path all the way through. I had the opportunity to play all my junior hockey in Ontario, ended up with a scholarship, went to St. Lawrence University, where we were fortunate to win back-to-back and went to the Final Four, and then got to live my dream of being a professional hockey player. Played in a few different organizations. The highlight, I guess you would say, of my career is that I was the first goalie in the American League to score a goal. And then actually score a goal. I know that there was somebody that got credited for a goal because he was the last one that touched the puck, but I actually shot it down and scored. And then from there, I had the opportunity to be the first goalie import to play in Austria. And then all during this time, started my own goaltending schools after my initial rookie season of professional hockey. From there, I had a really good friend of mine give me the opportunity to work for PepsiCo for 15 years. And then during that time, had a few different entrepreneurial ideas that I wanted to look at. And then, like in any corporate America job, when you get parachuted, I had the opportunity to start Ultimate Hockey Fans. And then we wrote, with my best friend, Lee Elias, we wrote a children's book that won North American Best Kids Book in 2024, Twig and Biscuit. And I'm sitting here with you right now.
Amazing. Great stuff. Great journey. And I was unaware of that. Great job scoring that first goal. So
thanks.
That's quite a task. I know.
Yeah, unassisted, by the way.
There you go. All right. There you go. And it's there in, perpetuity. So, there's a lot of jokes in the hockey community about goalies, as you know, right? And kind of their demeanor and who they are. How did you end up as a goalie? How did that all come to fruition?
That's a funny story. Started playing when I was 5 years old, and you had to be 6 to be on a team. So my dad was fortunate enough to get a sponsor and coach the team. Had no idea what hockey was or even knew what lines were, but I started actually as a forward. And back in the Centennial Arena Toronto days, they had the 2-minute buzzer. So no matter where you were, what was going on, they would blow the buzzer, you line change. And being the youngest on the team and wanted to play as much as possible, every time I was on the bench, I started crying because I wanted to be on the ice. So Fortunately, one game, our goalie didn't show up. Dad was going around the dressing room and asking, who wants to play? Who wants to play? And he asked me, no, I don't want to play. He goes, but you can stay on the ice the entire game. I was like, I'm in. And that's really how I started. Just from that point on, and I was just a goalie. Had the opportunity to play out once a season until, of course, he got into the midget age group. But yeah, no, I've always been a goalie.
Okay, so I remember when one of my sons wanted to try out goalie in like an open skate, and he padded up and went down, and I was out on the ice with him, and he went down, and I hit him in like an awkward spot, maybe on purpose, like subconsciously, but not on purpose. I don't know. And he was like, "Ow, that hurt." He goes, "I don't want to be a goalie. I don't want to have taking pucks all day." So I was like, I guess I did my job, because I was just looking at the cost of the pads and the equipment and everything else. It was crazy.
Larry, I can't tell you how many parents and good friends of mine have asked me that. He goes, "Hey, do me a favor during my goalie schools. I really want to make sure he wants to be a goalie, if you know what I mean. So put him through the paces."
That's funny. Yeah. So let's talk about your goalie schools for a minute. Okay. When you coach and you run camps, your motto is work hard and have fun. I think that is a great motto, and we really need more adoption of that. What do you wish players and parents understood about the need of both of those?
I think nowadays, especially with all the different trainers and everything, parents somewhat push their kids instead of letting them grow into it. And I mean, to have that work hard ethic, growing up in a modest family, I was out in the scrapyard working at 14 years of age and knew what hard work was. You had to make your $3.50 an hour to be able to go buy things. And it was just something at the camp, as I always told the kid, you got to work hard, because, in my mind, your parents were paying this amount of money and you were at the camp, and I was going to give them every last ounce of my energy to be able to make sure that by the end of the camp, you're going to be a better goalie. So that was my motto, was work hard. But at the same time, if you're not having fun, why are you out there? So there's that fine balance. Is that later on, I learned that it's not all about how hard I wanted you to work. It was how hard you could actually push yourself, and I tried to push them just through that little extra. But success is based on perception. And I'll never forget when I first came down to Florida to run my goalie camps, the competitive level that I left up in Ontario was high. Everybody wanted to play AAA. Everybody wanted to go to junior. And down here was a little bit different. And I'll never forget a young boy came up to me, and I walked into the rink and I saw the scoreboard, and it was like 7-1. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I was like, good game. And I wasn't really expecting it. And he goes, Coach Paul, I played great. I go, yeah, you did. And before I could say anything about the score, he goes, I only let in 7 goals. And at that point, really, it changed my philosophy. It's like, because he was having fun, he was working hard, and, that's all I cared about.
Yeah. That reminds me of the story. Like there's people who lose and there's people that get beat, right? You don't want to lose, but it's okay to get beat once in a while. Right?
Exactly.
And I think that
exactly
that's probably what that young man was experiencing. He won his game, which was great.
It's not all about, making kids cry to see how many butterflies they can do. Back in the day, we were raised totally different. When they said 64 boards, you were going back and forth 64 times. It didn't matter how you did it, you just had to do it. Whereas now, we didn't ask questions back then. Now, right. Kids ask questions. They want to know why, and you have to have the answers for them.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's important as
well. Definitely.
So, your love of the game can be felt in your venture, which you mentioned earlier, Ultimate Hockey Fans. So first and foremost, can you share with our listeners, what is Ultimate Hockey Fans?
Ultimate Hockey Fans came about as a mistake. Honestly, we were at home. We were changing my daughter's upstairs. We had a game room, okay, but it was really her playroom. and she got to the age where she was playing hockey and wanted friends over to the house. And she goes, Dad, want to change the room, want to make it into to more of a game room. Can you put up some of your hockey stuff? And at the time, it was one of those things. They ended up getting one of my jerseys framed for me. So I went about the room, and we had a vaulted ceiling. And in Florida, everybody has a ceiling fan. So I looked up at it, and I was like, okay, I've got to try to figure something out. And went online, really couldn't. I mean, we're talking at least 20 years ago when I came up with the idea. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to go to Lowe's, pick up a ceiling fan. And as I was traipsing it through the garage, I saw 4 old goalie sticks laying there. And I'm like, So cut off the shafts, drilled some holes through the ceiling fan. And now it wasn't supposed to function. Okay. It was one of those things that was supposed to look cool. But the feedback that I got on it from other parents, oh, that's so cool. Can you make I need you to make me one. And to make matters worse is I took an old goalie mask, and on the light fixture, I popped it on it, and it really looked like a ceiling fan. So over the years, working through PepsiCo and everything, a good friend of mine who's a patent attorney was like, you've got something here. And basically, I turned just a joke as just a room a decor into an actual functioning ceiling fan. Was on the Dragon's Den. Had. I'm very proud of it, and actually went one step further because all the initial blades were goalie blades. Mm-hmm. And, there's 2 goalies on a team, and you've got 15 players on a team. So my buddies were like, okay, I don't want that creepy goalie mask, and I want player blades. How can you do? And then literally went in the garage, came up with a few ideas, and next thing I knew, I was able to make the goalie blade and the player blade the exact same weight, so that if you had a divided household, you could have 2 goalie blades and 2 player blades. So it's actually a true functioning hockey ceiling fan, and it could be. You can customize it in any way that you want. It could just have your name on it. You could have professional teams on it. It's fully customizable.
Yeah. How is the process, in terms of getting that officially licensed, right? Because you have to get that officially licensed with the major league teams, right? How is that
with
process?
The NHL? It's a challenge. To say the least, but at the end of the day, it's with the NHL, as we all know, it's about money, and it's about getting the licensing and paying the royalties and so on and so forth. So, it's one of those processes that I'm glad I went through, and I understand it, and it's similar to the other sports as well.
One of the things I've heard you talk about is, civility and being the difference that you want to see in the world. And I think this kind of, plays into also what you said about that experience with that young goaltender, right? And also how kids now are asking, why am I doing this versus, I got to do the 64 boards because I got to do it, right?
Exactly.
Can you share why you believe that this perspective around civility can be so impactful?
Definitely. I believe civility isn't just about politeness. It's about recognizing the dignity of others. Even when we disagree, and when we choose to lead with respect, empathy, and curiosity, we create that space for real dialogue instead of division. I believe it really has a ripple effect because people respond in kind. It eases the tension, and collaboration becomes possible. Being a difference that you want to see in the world means living your values every moment. And I'll give you some examples. It's like, how do you speak to a cashier? How you listen to colleagues. In hockey and sports, it's how you handle a conflict in a team setting. You're looking at it, and it may seem small, but to inspire trust, again, inspiring trust and setting a standard around you, people follow. And over time, it will, in my opinion, it will shift the culture. Establishing trust is everything as far as I'm concerned. And I'll give you an example. On a team I just recently coached, to try to establish trust and to form that culture that we were looking for, we focused on 3 pillars: team, teammates, self. Okay. When you really think about that, if you go out of order, the system gets broken. All right. And that's why I see this perspective is so powerful. And it starts with us, but it never ends with us, Larry.
Right. And I think that's really applicable. That whole, that those three pillars are really applicable to business too, right?
Oh, exactly.
You probably saw it within your time at PepsiCo. It's really no difference between creating a team on or off the ice, or on or in, in or out of the boardroom.
It's the same as building any team, especially in corporate America, to have those three pillars and worry about the organization and then the team that you represent, and then yourself to make it, the best that you can be to be able to fit into that team.
Do you know finances can be joyful with your partner? We created a fantastic guide for couples to start their journey surrounding their finances. Head over to Midland.us/couplesjoy to download your free copy today. Don't miss out. Start bringing more joy into your financial conversations. One of the things that I'm sure you're very familiar with from your time of playing hockey and moving up the ranks is, the importance of having a routine, right? And making things so, innate that you don't even have to think about it. You just know what you have to do, which makes things easier when you have to perform, on the ice. What do you wish that aspiring athletes understood about routine? Because it is so important.
I think I learned routine from a very young age, watching my dad do the same routine every single morning to gain, the right frame of mind to go to work, to be able to do that. And then, it started off as superstition. You don't want, when you're a young kid, you're winning, so you never wash your underwear type of thing. But the routine, all of a sudden, when you get into the junior, and now it's even more prevalent because you see the kids starting at such a young age where, they're working on so many on and off ice techniques where, for instance, let's talk about the off ice. Now, again, you have them doing plyometrics. They're watching what they eat, and you sort of take a step back and go, is that the discipline that we really want to teach them? Because where does the fun start coming in? Okay. And then when you take a look at the on ice aspects of it as well, all right, your routine from working out will carry on to your off ice working habits. And that's, back in the day, we had hockey schools, and you go to the hockey schools, you work hard in your hockey schools, you go out and you try out, and hopefully you make the team. Whereas now in a lot of the organizations, the hockey school is really a thing of the past, I believe. And the reason being is that these teams are chosen right after the season. So it doesn't give the kid. So for instance, when you're 12 to 14, that's a huge age gap. When you take a look at that, I mean, you could grow 6 inches. You can put on 15 pounds. And by working out in the summertime and getting better, you will become a better hockey player or better athlete all around. Now, they're more specific in how they train.
So that's where the routine is so important. Right. I think also, when I talk to people, if I see somebody who submits a resume to my company, for example, if they have that junior hockey experience and they've gone that route, man, that puts them, a little bit above other candidates, because I know what they've had to go through that process, living on their own, taking care of themselves, being committed to a cause, team, et cetera.
Exactly. I mean, your routine will change as you get older, especially if we're focusing right now on just say hockey. I mean, I could tell you my routine from my 6-year pro when I was in Europe to when I first started was night and day, because you learn, you evolve, you know your body better, you know what you need to do, not only physically, but mentally. I mean, the mental aspect of the game has changed so much as well. So that's part of the routine as well. It's not just taking care of your body, it's taking care of your mind as well.
Yeah, agreed. So, one of the things I think you were starting to hit on a few moments ago, is the business of hockey. And it's something you talk about often. I talk about it often as well. My standard saying when I hear certain things is, oh, it's all about the kids, right? kind of ingest. And, it's a process. So, I want to leave our listeners with something. We have a lot of hockey folks that do listen, whether they played, kids played, et cetera. What do you wish players and parents understood about the process of moving up, especially as they approach, junior hockey age, which is where most people are trying to aspire to at this point?
I view it very simple. Go through the process. Understand the process. All right. Don't wish it away. There's no shortcuts. All right. And especially from a junior standpoint, all right, that there is no direct route to get to your end goal. You're going to have the hills and the valleys and everything like that to be able to get there. But as long as you stay the process, things will work out. If it's meant to be that you're going to be in the NHL, it's meant to be. There's a lot of help along the way, one way or the other. But the whole thing that you learn from it is to be able to be on a team, and being on a team in life is the most important. You're going to do it throughout your professional career. It's nowadays too is getting the right advisor. They have all these advisors going, and I think with the change from the CHL into the NCAA, that is such a curveball where, back in the day, we can only spend 48 hours in a camp and your eligibility would have been gone. I think this now gives kids that option, especially in the CHL, and I only know specifically about the OHL, is that you can sign a package to get your education, but then depending on what kind of agreement you have with the teams, if you play one professional game or you sign a professional contract, your schooling is out the window. You need your education. I mean, nowadays it's even more important than ever. I mean, you just mentioned about looking on a resume. You see that they went to school. You see that they, played on a sports team. I don't care what sports team it is. That they have all those attributes to be able to do it.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And I think, we always want to rush the process and find a shortcut to the process. And really, at the end of the day, you just have to play it out. And, you have to, there's a bit of, skill and determination, of course, right? There's a little bit of luck to it as well, right? And it's also that luck kind of goes out to making sure, which you kind of hit on pretty well, is, surrounding yourself with the right people versus the wrong people. Because even if you have the skill and the talent, but you surround yourself with the wrong people or you do wrong things, then that really impedes your ability. We've had the head of College Hockey Inc. on a couple of times. I think that's a great resource for people to understand how to maintain their eligibility and what that path looks like. Do you know of any other resources that people can lean on that might be helpful to them who, maybe they have that 8, 9, 10-year-old and they don't even understand what the process looks like?
8, 9, 10, have fun. That's it. There is no process. I mean, seriously, it gets ridiculous when you're looking at it because you're around your friends, you want to have fun. And it's nice, especially if you can afford it as a parent to be able to go get some training and everything. But again, at the end of the day, it's having fun. We play the game to have fun. And then all of a sudden, when it starts turning business and you get that anxiety, the fun, on some kids, it gets too high and they quit and they move on. So be as young as you can for as long as you can. Enjoy the game. All right. Don't wish it away. To look back at everything that I have done, to be able to go back in different situations, and I wish I would have done this, and I wish we would have won the national championship game, and I didn't let the go in that I still haven't seen today. My life would not be the same. So, you have to be in the right spot at the right time and, things will work out.
All roads lead to men's league.
Exactly. That's perfect. Yep.
We all start in the same place and end in the same place at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So let's shift for a second. Let's talk about the book, Twig and Biscuit, Learn to Play Hockey.
Got to give it a plug. So
There you
happy.
go. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Which you wrote with, Lee Elias. So, what was the impetus behind writing that book, and what do you want listeners who potentially would read that book to take away from it?
So I met Lee 3 years ago. We were coaching the Puerto Rican men's national team. And when we were out there, there was a first practice for all the young kids. Okay. So as we're going on the ice and we're trying to plan what the practice was going to look like, started walking out on the ice and we saw kids that had their elbow pads outside of their shirt, their shin pads outside. And we're just sort of looking at it. And he looked at me and goes, "We got to write a book about this." And we went one step further. We wrote a series under the Rink Rats LLC. We started our own publishing company, and with Twig and Biscuit, our first book was about how to get dressed. Because when you take a look at it, for all the learn to play programs, and I'm not talking just the specific ones that the NHL sponsor all the teams with, but all the small little community rinks that have the learn to play program, when you're a parent, and if I didn't see this with my own eyes, I would never have believed it, is that there really is no handshake to hockey. There's really no guidance, okay, and especially with how the game has grown through the multicultural essence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have some first generation parents here that the kids want to play hockey. They get this huge bag, all right, and the organizations really try to do a good job at emailing, and this is how you do it. But we felt that if we were able to really get that the emotional side of it, to get the kid engaged not only with the sport but how to be able to do it. I mean, when we look at the book and the endearing characters that we have in the book, all right, to show Eddie and Twig and Biscuit to view this boy that's a little uneasy in the dressing room, didn't want to ask for help. It's the same for the parents when they get the big box and they open it up and they say, "Oh my God, look at the book." And they start reading it. And this is how you get dressed, which led us to an entire series. We're almost finished our second novel, which is, of course, Learn to Skate. And then the first one is, then the third one, is going to be Play Hockey. So when you take a look at the NHL pillars, it's get a hockey stick in their hand, teach them how to skate, and then get them to play hockey. And, we've written books that will endear the parents to the sport.
Awesome. So helpful. I laugh, kind of under my breath when I see those Learn to Skates, because I look and I'm like, do these parents have any idea what they're getting into? 6 sessions, $240. And I'm like, you have no idea what's coming down the pike when your kid loves this sport.
$1,500 to play rec hockey? What?
Yeah, you got to prepare these parents so that they don't have the shock that they're going to have.
And that's exactly what we did on the website. We have so many different training, different opportunities, not only for the kids to play the game, but a lot of blogs to what should we feed them? Pizza is not really that great an idea the first time on the ice. So we've really tried to take this step to an educational point.
So helpful, and thank you for doing that. So listen, before we wrap up with the last question, the second to last question I'm going to ask you, because you're a hockey guy through and through. Who's your team, and what's your prediction for the 25-26 season?
You know what? That's a tough one there, because I was, and I got to be careful about aging myself. I was around when the Leafs did win the last cup. Don't remember it at all. All right. But, growing up in Ontario, especially Southern Ontario, Toronto has always been my team. Mike Palmatier, I mean, can remember it, watching him in Maple Leaf Gardens for the first time. So, with the heart, I'm going to have to go with Biz, and I'm going with the Leafs. Good luck to Marner.
Okay.
Wish them all the best. But you know what? Sometimes you got to take a step back before you can move forward. So I'm going with the Leafs, and you can't give up on Edmonton. I mean, they've got such a special group there, and I wish Hyman would have been healthy for that the last series, because who knows what would have happened. He's such an impact player as well.
Is.
So I'm going to go all Canadian final, Leafs and Oilers.
Wow. Okay. All right. Sounds good. We'll see if that comes to fruition. I would love, I'm a diehard Ranger fan. I don't think they'll be anywhere in the mix. I hope they prove me wrong by me just saying that, but I just don't see that happening. But we'll see. But Paul, it's been a pleasure having you on, and we end each of our shows asking asking each of our guests the same final question, because our listeners are waiting for this, because we are all about joy on this show. And that is, what did you do today that brought you joy and put you in the right mindset for success?
It goes back to routine, Larry. What I do almost every morning, as long as it's not pouring rain, I go for a 2-mile walk with my dog, Henry.
Awesome. Well, sounds like a great way to start the day. And hopefully the rains, when they do come, they come in the afternoon shower, so you get that early walk in.
Yeah,
right?
And I'd be remiss, because our older dog, Jack, is the second little walk, but that's just a little trip walk. But being able to walk both the boys in the morning makes my day perfect.
Precious time with them. I think about fondly with my boys now, 19 and 22. I think about the 10 minutes I had in the car driving them to school each and every day. I miss that, but I'm glad I treasured it when I could.
Awesome.
So listen, Paul, we're going to have all of your information in the show notes. But if people want to learn more about Ultimate Hockey Fans, or what you're doing with, the book writing and learn to play hockey, what's the easiest and the best way for them to learn more and connect with you?
Easy. Just simply go to ultimatehockeyfans.com or twigbiscuit.com.
Awesome. Made it very easy. Thank you so much. Go check it out. If you're a hockey fan, it's something to definitely take a look at. If you're not a hockey fan, you could take a look and become one. I appreciate your time, Paul, joining us and sharing your story, and enjoy the day.
Thanks, Larry. Appreciate your time.
Paul, thank you for opening your heart and sharing a journey that goes far beyond the rink or the boardroom. Your story is a powerful reminder that success means nothing without purpose, and that joy, resilience, and legacy are what truly matter. You didn't just inspire us today, you showed us what's possible when you lead with love, courage, and conviction. Paul Cohen and all he is up to can be found across most social media platforms. All the contact information needed to find them can be found in the show notes.
The opinions voiced in the Midland Money Mindset Show with Lawrence Sprung are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. No strategy ensures success or protects against loss. To determine what may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Guests on the Midland Money Mindset Show are not affiliated with CWM LLC.